Our story begins on Killisnoo Island on November 14th, 1908, on which date Walter Soboleff is born to a Russian immigrant father and a Tlingit mother. Throughout his more than 102-year life, Walter spent most of his years in Alaska, irrevocably changing life for many people there. As a result of his accomplishments, there are many buildings all across Southeast Alaska that bear his name. As you can see, we've got a lot to go over about the storied history of the Soboleffs. Soboleff literally means sable in Russian. And if you don't know, a sable is a species of marten that lives deep within Siberia. So, how did an influential family in Alaska get the name Soboleff? I'll explain in a moment, because it's about time that I started speaking in Russian for this Russian class presentation. This is me at the Sea Alaska Heritage Institute's main campus.
Здравствуйте. Я здесь перед зданием Валтера Соболева. Оно очень красивое. Я хочу сказать о семье Соболева чуть больше.
Иван Sobolev родился и вырос в России. Позже он приехал в Америку, в Калифорнию и потом в Ангун. Он был православным священником в Ангун на острове Killisnoo. Его жена звали Ольга Людка Соболев. У них было 4 детей: Вера, Винсент, Нина и Александр. Винсент был фотографом. Он делал много фото Killisnoo и людей, которые там живут. Вот эти фотографии. I'd just like to point out that old pictures usually have people that look miserable, but this isn't the case here. I mean, just take a look at Vera, who enjoyed activities such as being in a Japanese costume, being in a Spanish costume, being on a dead whale, being in a barrel, and being skunk cabbage. Sasha Sobolev был женат на Анна Хунтер из племени Тлигитов. У них было 3 детей: Руби, Марта и Валтер. Валтер родился в Killisnoo, но вырос в Ситке, Killisnoo и Ангуне. Он учится английский, русский и тлигитский языки. Он окончил университет Дубюк в штате Айова.
You were, if I'm not mistaken, weren't you born in Killisnoo?
Yes, Killisnoo, Alaska.
Which is no longer in existence.
An abandoned village just a few miles south of Angoon.
I know that you were raised there and you went to school in Sitka and you became, in due time, a pastor. But let's go back to those early days. Now, you go back a long ways with the history of Alaska.
Okay. And then my parents decided I should go to this Russian school in Sitka. I think I happened to be the last student.
Well, you have Russian antecedent there with a name like Soboleff, right?
That Russian school in Sitka. And one day the church pastor said to me, Walter, have you ever thought of becoming a minister in the church? And I said, absolutely no, there's no fun in that. I want something with fun. They just kept hounding me. I finally went down to see this fellow and I said, well, pastor, I think I'll give it a whirl. And about a month or so afterwards, he came back to me and said, well, Walter, we managed to get you a 4-year scholarship at the University of Dubuque. That is an amazing.
В 1949 Walter приехал в Juneau с женой Genevieve. В Juneau он был знаменитым священником.
Все могли ходить к нему в церковь. Он тоже читал службы по радио. Много людей на Аляске и в Канаде слушали его. Он работал в университете Аляска Фэрбэнкс, где начал курсы для коренных жителей. Валтер был член братства коренних жителей Аляски и национальным гвардейцем Аляски. В 2011 году он умер дома в Джуно. Он похоронен
When
в
I
Джуно.
was a child in this small village of Killisnoo, we practically lived right next door to the big red schoolhouse. And for some good reason, I loved to go to school. If you as a student feel you're not doing well in school, speak to your father and mother to not forget that the parents are just as responsible for the success of their student, not only in school, but for life's journey. The parents have a responsibility.
This is what we listened to. And he did that for 4 months, 1 million times. He adds almost 1 million ads, pieces of ads.
I did all the ads work that you're going to see inside the Walter Soboleff building. They told me it was almost 1 million chips. One hand. So goodness cheese, I'm very glad to be here. I'm very honored to be here.
Это здание построено в 2015 года по заказу Института культурного наследия Аляска. Здание большое. Похоже на клинический дом кланов.
Много художников и строителей делали это здание. Оно построено в честь предков коренных жителей Аляски, Тлингит, Хайда и Синшан, и носит имя Валтера Соболева. As I was reading up on Dr. Soboleff's life for this video, I came across a phrase that's really stuck to me. It's used by certain groups to say that instead of saying that someone dies, they say that this person has walked into the forest. I think that's very true with Dr. Soboleff. He spent his whole life trying to make life a little bit better for some other people. He was truly a cornerstone of the Native community. He helped steward a new generation anyone could be a part of, Native or otherwise. His legacy is carried on with his 4 children, with his sons Sasha, Walter Jr., and Ross, and his daughter Janet. I think in the end that Mr. Soboleff's story really reflects that of Alaska, all the good parts at least, from Russian colonization all the way to the hope of today, this modern Native community where everyone is accepted. I'll leave you with one last recording of Reverend Dr. Walter Soboleff.
And I wish that the fathers and mothers would rise up in the world and say, no more wars, we lose our children. I said to the leaders in the church, wouldn't it be a good idea if we let the world know that this church is not only for the Tlingit people of Junior? And they said, that's a good idea. And the word went out, and other non-natives started to come. And the church was just going. Half an hour, 11:30 to 12. The choir came on, and there was a short sermon, not that long, and then a closing hymn and benediction. I often felt people just don't like long sermons, and I made short ones. So I cut the bologna in half. The biggest classes on the campus. It's what the youth wanted. What seems to draw them is to appreciate, to learn who they are. It seems to have a stabilizing effect.
Dr. Soboleff bridged more than a century of Alaska history and change that to the youth at the convention of the Alaska Federation of Natives.
I was in the 5th grade, and the teacher said, take care of the old person you're going to become. And I thought, what a funny thought to give us. But I never forgot it. It was one of the best messages I ever heard. take care of the old person you're going to become.